Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into a passage that challenges us, James chapter 2.
We've got this great study to guide us called MCS James Chapter 2, The Church and God's War on Poverty. MCS stands for Messianic Community Studies, we found out.
Yeah, and this part of the Bible, it really doesn't pull any punches, does it? It goes right to the heart of what, real faith looks like.
Exactly. When faith meets the real world, the messy parts.
So our goal here, our sort of mission for this deep dive, is to unpack what James is actually saying about faith and action and poverty and this big one, favoritism.
How should what we believe really change how we treat everyone, especially those folks that society often overlooks?
James jumps right in. He calls his readers brothers, stressing that shared connection we have in Yeshua, Jesus, the glorious Messiah.
And then bam, verse 1, the core command.
Which is, practice your faith without showing favoritism. Simple, direct. Makes you stop right.
It really does. And then he gives this example, verses 2 to 4, that's almost, uncomfortably familiar. Imagine you're gathered, maybe in a home like the study suggests was common.
In a smaller setting. And two people walk in. One guy, clearly well off, nice clothes, gold rings, the whole deal.
And the other person, poor, in rags, basically, worn out clothes.
And the reaction described is just stark, completely different for each one.
The rich guy gets the VIP treatment. Oh, come sit here, best seat.
But the poor man, he's told, just stand over there, or maybe sit on the floor by my feet.
Oof, it's hard.
So James just calls it out immediately. Verse 4, these piercing questions. Haven't you created distinctions among yourselves? Haven't you become judges with evil motives?
And the study points out those distinctions are purely based on, how someone looks and how much money they seem to have.
Nothing deeper than that.
Right. And those evil motives James talks about, maybe it's valuing people for what they can give to the group, seeing the poor as, a burden, someone who can't really help the mission like a rich person might, judging by worldly standards.
Definitely not God's standards. Because James then completely flips the script in verse 5.
He does. He says, listen, my dear brothers, hasn't God chosen the poor of this world to be rich in faith?
And to inherit the kingdom he promised to those who love him.
It's totally countercultural, isn't it? The world values wealth, status. But God, James says, often picks the poor, the lowly, to be the ones overflowing with real faith, the heirs of his kingdom.
And our source material notes, this isn't like a new idea God just had. Think about Jesus' own family line in Matthew.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Matthew 1, it's got people with, complicated pasts, murderers, adulterers, prostitutes, lowly shepherds, people without money. God used them.
So why? Why does God often use the lowly?
Well, the study suggests it makes it incredibly obvious that it's God's power doing the work, not just human talent or resources.
So it brings more glory to him.
Exactly. And it shows everyone, no matter who you are, what you have, that God can use you. It's encouraging.
But even knowing God's view, James hits them with this really strong accusation in verses 6 and 7. He says, but you despise the poor.
That word despise, it's really jarring.
Yeah.
And the source adds a sobering thought. If you're listening to this on a nice device in a comfortable home, by the standards James is talking about, you might be in the category of the rich he's addressing.
Wow. That really makes you check yourself.
Doesn't it? And Joyce points out the irony, too. Aren't the rich often the ones causing problems, oppressing people, dragging them into court, insulting God's name?
So how does despising the poor connect to slandering God's name, like he says in verse 7?
The study links it back to Genesis 1.27. Everyone is made in God's image. So, when we disrespect someone, show contempt, fail to love them, especially the marginalized, we're actually misrepresenting God himself.
We're not showing the true picture of Christ.
Right. Jesus showed love by sharing, by meeting needs. So despising someone made in God's image is ultimately disrespecting the Creator.
So favoritism, looking down on the poor, it's not just bad manners, it's a deep spiritual problem.
Totally. And James then connects this directly to God's law in verses 8 to 11. He talks about the kingdom Torah or the royal law in verse 8.
Love your neighbor as yourself. That's huge. Leviticus 19.18. Jesus said it was second only to loving God.
Exactly. And James's point is inescapable, that poor person being ignored or told to sit on the floor, that's your neighbor.
So showing favoritism isn't just a little slip-up.
No, it's breaking that fundamental command. And then he drops that bombshell in verses 10 and 11. If you keep the whole law but stumble at just one point, you're guilty of breaking all of it.
He uses the murder and adultery example. If you don't commit murder but you commit adultery, you're still a lawbreaker.
And the study clarifies this idea sometimes called sin is sin. We tend to rank sins, don't we? Like, this is bad, but that's really bad.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
But from God's perfect perspective, any disobedience is still disobedience. James is saying, in God's eyes, treating the poor with contempt, showing favoritism, that's just as serious a breach of his law as murder or adultery. It breaks the standard.
That's heavy. It means we can't just brush off prejudice or judging by appearances as minor things.
Not at all. So then, how should we live knowing this? Verses 12 and 13. James says, speak and act like people who are going to be judged by a Torah which gives freedom.
A law that sets us free. And he adds that warning. Judgment without mercy for those who haven't shown mercy. But then, the hope. Mercy triumphs over judgment.
Now, the study is really careful here. This isn't saying our good deeds, our mercy, saves us.
Right, it's not salvation by works.
No. It's saying that if you have true saving faith, if you've received Christ's mercy, then showing mercy will naturally flow out of that transformed heart. It's evidence of the change inside.
Okay, so the judgment he's talking about, it's more about, what, rewards?
Yeah.
Or maybe the consequences of not living out the faith we claim.
That seems to be the idea in the study, yes. Not about losing salvation, but about alignment. Showing mercy reflects the mercy we've received. It becomes the standard.
Gotcha. Okay, this leads us straight into maybe the most famous or infamous part of the chapter. Verse 14, James asks that huge question.
What good is it, my brothers, if someone claims to have faith but has no actions to prove it? Can such faith save him?
He doesn't just leave the question hanging there either. He gives that incredibly vivid practical picture in verses 15 and 16.
Oh, yeah. Someone's freezing. They have no food, they're desperate, and you see them and you say,
Shalom, peace be with you. Stay warm, eat well.
But you don't actually give them a coat or any food.
What good does that do? Seriously?
Absolutely none. They're still cold, still hungry, your words were empty, hollow.
And that leads right to James's punchline in verse 17.
Thus, faith by itself, unaccompanied by actions, is dead.
Dead. Wow. So if the faith you say you have doesn't actually lead to doing anything, changing anything, the study says you really need to examine that faith. Is it alive? Is it real?
It's not about earning your way to God. It's about showing the life God has given you. And this connects so directly to, well, practical ministry happening right now. The source material we're using, MCS James chapter 2, it's actually connected with an organization called Enduring Freedom Ministries. EFM.
Right. And EFM sounds like a perfect example of putting James 2 into action. They focus specifically on meeting those tangible needs James is talking about.
Exactly. Like reading about what they do, providing hot meals, getting people groceries, clothing, even things like haircuts and laundry services for people who are really struggling, maybe homeless or facing poverty.
It's that direct response, isn't it, to James saying, don't just say be warm and well fed. EFM is actually providing the means to be warm and well fed.
It's boots on the ground stuff.
And the source material actually encourages supporting this kind of work. It mentions that even a small regular donation, like maybe $4 a month, can make a real difference helping provide those essentials for one person. A meal, clothes, a haircut. It's a very concrete way to live out what James is teaching.
Yeah, turning insight into action. They also mentioned a book, didn't they? Misfits for Jesus. True accounts of people experiencing Jesus.
They did. It apparently tells stories of God working through EFM's ministry, which ties right back to what we said earlier about God using the lowly and poor, just like James highlights.
Sounds like it shows the biblical truth meeting real life. This study you mentioned, it's on Amazon, maybe linked through an affiliate program. It's good to see these ancient words aren't just theory, they're being lived out.
It really is. A living faith in action.
So James kind of anticipates an argument in verse 18. Someone might say, okay, you have faith, I have actions, how can we tell?
Right, like they're separate things.
But James throws it back. Show me this faith of yours without any actions, and I will show you my faith by my actions.
He's basically saying they're inseparable if the faith is real.
Exactly. Genuine faith produces action. The study is clear again. Deeds don't save us. Salvation is grace through faith in Jesus, period. But saving faith, it changes you. It will result in actions that demonstrate that inner reality.
God doesn't need our works, but he gives us the chance to serve him for his glory.
And so others see it, and my belief too, it's a witness.
And James doubles down in verse 19, saying mere head knowledge isn't enough. Even demons believe God exists. God is one, and it just terrifies them.
Yeah, that's a crucial distinction our source makes. Real saving faith isn't just agreeing God is real, it's actively trusting in Jesus Christ as the payment for your sins. Believing about God isn't the same as believing in him for salvation.
So faith without that act of trust, without the resulting action, James calls it barren or useless in verse 20.
The analogy the study uses is pretty good. It's like having a champion thoroughbred racehorse.
But you never let it out of the barn. Never let it run.
Right. It's still technically a racehorse, I guess, but it's not doing what it was made for. Faith that isn't exercised, put to work through actions, it doesn't grow. It doesn't strengthen the believer or impact anyone else. It's just stagnant, dead.
To really hammer this home, James calls two witnesses from the Old Testament, big ones. First, Abraham, verses 20 to 24.
And James says Abraham was shown to be righteous because of his actions specifically, offering Isaac. He says Abraham's faith and his actions were working together. The actions kind of completed the faith, made it perfect or mature.
But wait, the study points this out too. Genesis 15:6 says Abraham believed God, and that's when it was credited to him as righteousness. That was way before the Isaac incident.
Good point, and it highlights the flow. Abraham was justified by faith first, but that faith wasn't just internal head nodding. It was proven real, shown to be genuine by his later actions, like his willingness to offer Isaac.
That extreme act of obedience flowed from his faith.
Exactly. That's why he was called God's friend. His life demonstrated trust. The study uses that tree analogy. Faith is the root system, hidden but essential, providing life. Works are the fruit that a healthy tree naturally produces.
You can't have fruit without roots, but healthy roots will produce fruit.
Precisely. Genuine faith inevitably bears the fruit of action.
Okay, witness number 2. Rahab the prostitute, verse 25.
Yeah, another powerful, maybe unexpected example. She, despite her background, was also shown to be righteous because of her actions.
Welcoming the spies, helping them escape. That's in Joshua chapter 2.
Right. And the study notes James uses two witnesses, Abraham and Rahab, a patriarch, and a Gentile woman with a questionable past, may be following that scriptural principle of establishing truth through multiple witnesses.
Both demonstrated faith that was alive, faith that did something.
And James ties it all up with that final, powerful analogy in verse 26. It's unforgettable.
Just as a body without a spirit is dead.
So faith without actions is dead.
It's that simple, that stark. Faith needs life, and its life is seen in what it does.
So bringing this ancient text right back to you, listening now, how does all this challenge your perspective? Honestly.
Do you ever catch yourself making quick judgments based on how someone looks, their job, their perceived status, showing that subtle favoritism James warns against?
Where might you be, maybe without even meaning to, creating those distinctions James condemned, seeing people through the world's lens instead of God's?
And maybe the bigger question, how does the faith you profess actually show up in your life, practically? How do you treat those margins the world tends to ignore or label as lowly?
Are your words matched by your actions? Are you quick with an encouraging, hang in there, which is fine, but maybe stop short of offering real tangible help when it's needed and you could actually do something? James really pushes us beyond just feeling sympathy.
Yeah, he demands action. So this deep dive, it's really shown us, hasn't it? Favoritism is sin. God values the poor and humble deeply. And there's this critical, unbreakable link between real living faith and actual deeds of love and mercy.
And that beautiful reminder, mercy triumphs over judgment.
So considering James's final powerful statement, faith without actions is dead, here's something to really chew on. How will you let these insights from James chapter 2 shape the practical ways you live out your faith? Through mercy, through love, through real action, starting now.
And hey, for more deep dives like this one, exploring scripture and talking about living it out, make sure you subscribe to the Olive Grove podcast over on YouTube.